Hi, it's Rachel with Stirring the Deep. Today I'm going to talk about men and women and the union between them, because this is an area that in our society has been greatly corrupted and misrepresented, and we're taught all the wrong things, basically, but it's to our destruction. And this is something that's so fundamental to life and to healing in our lives and in societies in general that I thought it would be so important to kind of address this. Now, I'm here to prompt you to go and seek God's will in this area and let Him teach you, because when He teaches you, you personally, and you have that intimacy with Him, you get a very deep knowing, and He has that ability to change you while He teaches you. So that's a very powerful dynamic. So this is something that I greatly encourage you to seek His instruction in, that you can walk in it, because when we walk according to His way, it is true life, and it's the fulfillment of all our desires. God is truly good. He wants to fulfill our desires, and that's the biggest lie of the enemy, is that he doesn't want to do that. But he wants to do it in a way that's perfect for us, and so we have to go to Him and learn about that and let Him recreate us. And so I want to focus on this area today because, again, it's just so important, and I just see the ripple effect that not honoring men and women and the union between them, what that does to this society. The ripple effect is amazing. It's incredible. And as we continue to move forward and that expands and grows, this dishonoring, it's just causing more and more problems. That's why it's so important. So I want to breathe some truth into this topic. It's a topic that when you get rightly related to God, it will heal your marriage, it will heal your relationships. And at the end, I do want to offer a little bit more specific advice or suggestions in terms of getting right in this area in relation to God's will. So first of all, why is this so important? And most people don't realize the significance of men and women, that union between them. In Genesis 1:27, it says, "So God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created them." So male and female together represent the image of God. Together, in both of them, the two halves are complementary and they work together. They don't replace each other. They're not the same. It's showing how these two sides which create the image of God. And so when they come together, you have this love, right? And that bond of love is the essence of God, because He is love. So when we experience true love, which is righteous love, that means that everything that is done perfectly for the situation, for the people, and obviously that can only happen through God, but I'll get to that in a minute. But that's very important, and that's what that represents. When the two are honored, and they have a fellowship with God, the two come together and they create a very dynamic entity, because it's made in the image of God, and the love and the life that pours forth from that union. That is why it's so important. I want to read a couple verses actually in Matthew as well. And it's in Matthew 19, and I'm going to read verses 4 through 6. "And He answered and said to them, Have you not read that He who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let not man separate." So men and women, when they come together, those spirits, the unity is the oneness, because again, God is one and it's representing Him. God is also love. And so you have that dynamic represented, and it's actually experienced, that love, through the men and women. And so you become one spirit. And this is what God has created, this beautiful union between a man and a woman. And so it's a sacred union, it's a spiritual union as well as physical. It's all together. You can't separate any of that. And that's what the world's done. That's what the messaging of the world has done. It has basically separated the spiritual from the physical and said, no, you can just have the physical act. That's a lie. And so when you dishonor the sacred union with the physical, you're bringing much destruction, because there's a very strong spiritual element there that must be honored. And that's what God's talking about. When he's joined that, don't separate it, because it is not going to be a pretty picture. And that's what we see in our society. That's how important it is. So how do you get this true union? Because it's so corrupted today. The most important thing you do is you seek God. That's the best thing that you can ever do for your marriage. That's the best thing that you can do for your life, for your children, for society, in every possible way. And especially in this area, because as you are fellowshipping with God, what you're really doing is you're doing that to eventually enter into complete rest, which means you're completely trusting God, where he is governing every aspect of your life, your desires, your will, your thoughts, your words, your actions, because you've completely given over to him. And that's a journey. That is the path of sanctification. That is the path of salvation, where we're truly redeemed from ourselves. We truly become this new creation, and it comes from that fellowship with God. And when we're fellowshipping with God and he's governing us, he fills us with his righteousness, and his righteousness flows out. So when you're having that fellowship with God and you're manifesting and creating that union with him, he's sanctifying you, which is making you holy, and basically filling you with his righteousness and renewing your mind in truth, because it all works together. Your mind can't be going one way and then you have the righteousness of God. It's all connected. That's why it's a journey. That's why we have to learn from him. But as we do, he recreates us into new creations, and he's filling us with his power so that we can actually walk in that righteousness, which wasn't possible before Christ. But by the power of God in us, that's what we have, the power of God in us, we're able to walk, because it's really him in us governing everything. So when you develop that, imagine what that would do for your relationships. How much more your marriage. So now imagine when both people are seeking God and fellowshipping with him, the union that forms between them as a result of that fellowship is a righteous love. Because both are gaining the righteousness of God by walking with him on that narrow path of truth and seeking him each day and learning from him so that they can be renewed into new creation, and that bond is formed. And this is what we are to honor. This is what we are to seek. And when you have this dynamic in your life, it is so fulfilling. It fulfills you in every way. And what's interesting, this is what people are truly seeking. The real love, the real acceptance, that care, all those things you really want in a relationship that people go in all these other means to try to find. That's how it's found. And it's real and it's available. But it comes through that relationship with God. So on the flip side, you got to be aware of the images out there, because just about every image, from advertising to TVs to music to anything that comes out of Hollywood, just all these things actually do everything possible to destroy the union and to destroy the individual vessels by dishonoring all three, and as well as prohibiting and causing people not to seek God because of the lie that somehow your life would be less, which is simply a lie. It's actually the fulfillment of your desires, because when you come in line with God, because he is life. He is joy and peace and love and happiness and all these awesome things. So be aware of the images and don't saturate your mind with them. Don't look at all the magazines. Don't look at all the shows that spread all these images, and teach your children the ripple effect of all these things and what they're watching and how that forms their perceptions about who they are. Because all of those images actually devalue each person and that union. They've separated out from the spiritual and the physical. They completely devalue women by objectifying them, making them sex objects, focusing on all the wrong things. And a lot of women feed that image as well. So there's so much responsibility on all sides. But your part is to seek God and what His will is for you. And so for men, it's not looking and gawking at other women. And you think, well, wow, how could I ever do that? Yes, women are beautiful creatures, but you can by the power of God, because that's not really honoring. That's not honoring that woman's marriage or her marriage to be. That's not honoring your marriage or your wife. And so it's about truly honoring and lifting up each other in all those ways. And in Matthew 5, 27 and 28, Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Well, wow, how can you have that standard? How can I possibly walk in that? By the power of God in you. You're not alone. God has said, "I'm giving you my Spirit." How powerful is that? Trust me, it's possible. And when you honor your wife that way, that will bring her so much healing and will give her so much value. It will do tremendous things for her, for you, for your marriage. And respect her as the helper, as the part that's different from you. And give her that voice. Give her that place that she's offering something to that union that you don't have, because you're two parts coming together making the whole. And respect what she has to offer. And women need to respect men as well and respect what they have to offer. And men need to be that leader, but a servant leader, not domineering, not controlling, but honoring and lifting up. And a couple of things for the women. One is to dress in ways that are honoring to yourself, and to teach the young girls to do that. The way they're dressing now is unbelievable. You know, it's just the really low-cut tops and the short shorts, and they don't realize what they're doing. They don't understand the ripple effect. They need to be taught about really what that's creating, how it's objectifying. It's really devaluing them. And they'll realize that later on in life. But in their being naive, they don't understand that now. So that's something that's very important. And for women to get their value from God and from who they are, not in the outward things. Because that's one thing that is so destructive to women, is their value has been totally warped, and it needs to be renewed. And you need to go to God to learn who you are as a beautiful creation, and to honor all that He's created you to be. To take care of yourself, to honor this tent that He's given you, and to respect it as His creation. So these are just a couple of things for you to think about in your own life. And I really encourage you in this, because trust me, it is something that a lot of people don't understand how it's affecting their life in a bad way, in a negative way, the negative impacts. And if there's healing in this dynamic, it would be incredible on so many levels. So do this not just for your sake, but for your spouse's sake, for your children's sake, for those around you. Set the example. Seek God and ask, what do you want? How do you make this to be? Teach me. And then fill me with your righteousness so I can walk in your ways and be at total rest and let you govern all this through me. Till next time, keep stirring the deep. It's the one thing that changes everything else.